Good morning, welcome to day 30 of our 40-day journey together through the way of the heart. How grateful I am that you are joining us today. And we are going to complete our conversation about the keys to the kingdom, the keys to the queendom. I actually call them the keys to creating as Christ. And so we really come to the culmination of all of the building blocks, if you will, the foundational elements that are in the way of mastery. And today we're going to have a conversation which Jeshua brings up at the end of the conversation about surrender, and it has to do with the concept of death. And so my goal and intention is that we have an expanded view of what we call death. And this talk is entitled Death or Life. And so we begin with this, as we always begin, with the sound of the tone. We will turn within to the sanctuary of the soul, the garden of our consciousness, where we get to create our experience together, but we do so first by connecting with the source of our being. And so we do so now as we hear the sound of the tone. How sweet it is to surrender into that which already is this expansive, spacious presence of the beloved that is with us at all times, everywhere, unto the ends of all of creation. It extends forth, and how grateful I am that we have this opportunity, that in this point of time, spinning on this particular planet, in all of creation, in all of the cosmos, that as we connect in this consciousness, we are one with all that is. Everything seen, unseen, in between, and beyond. As we connect in this God consciousness, we enter into the realm of infinite possibility and potentiality. As we abide as the creator of our own experience. As we abide as Christ. As the beloved of the Creator itself, an idea, a divine idea in the mind of God are we. That all of that light that God is abides within us. That we are as God created us. Infinite, in potentiality, whole in our nature, nothing lacking. Eternal beings of light. And in our consciousness, in our awareness, I deliberately align with the mind of all that is. And I surrender into the infinite heart. And as I do so, as I breathe in and out, I align with the heartbeat of all of creation. It is here that I know who I am. As spirit unlimited and free, I know who I am. As spirit, I get to decree a thing and it is so. And so I decree well, I decree powerfully, I decree aligned with this heart and mind. And so I call forth peace. I call forth happiness, health and wholeness, an abundance of all things good. I know what I am as Christ, as the beloved of the beloved. Knowing my oneness with creation and Creator. I know how I serve as a channel and an extender of this consciousness and this love. Word, I am word. I'm the activity of God in expression and form. Word, I am word. I'm word through knowing myself in this way. And through my vibration. And through all that is within the realm of my awareness. And into thine hands I commend my spirit, and I rise in consciousness into the upper room where I abide, joined in spirit. I am here. I am here, I am here. And in this upper room, the guides, the angels, Jeshua, awakened beings all whisper in my ear, beloved, you are here. You are here. You are here. And so I abide as Christ in perfect safety, having released all tension, dissolving my mind into the perfect peace of God. I breathe in and out the love intelligence, the love energetic that I am. That is the elixir of my being. Breathing in and out, total acceptance of that which I am. Love. I accept the love of God now in the stillness and the silence. And so owning and allowing this reacclimation as Christ. This time is blessed for a blessing. And I invite you to maintain this meditative stillness as you listen to these words from Jeshua. Desire, intention, allowance, surrender. But it is surrender into a way of being that the world can never know. It is surrender into a way of being in which you may never receive an Oscar for your acting, but it is a way of being in which your consciousness becomes totally open to your union with all of creation. You will talk with a leaf as it falls from a tree. You will see the soul of a kitten that you pet. You will talk with angels and masters. And you will be involved in board meetings in the high cosmic conference room. You will know that the body-mind you once thought was yours is little more than a temporary teaching device, a tool to be picked up and utilized at God's direction and put aside when its usefulness is done. So that even when it is time to go through the transition that you know as death, nothing will disturb your peace. As the body dies, which means simply that your attention begins to release itself from it, just like a hand of a carpenter is released from the handle of a hammer. As it is laid down on the table on the way to dinner, you will be able to watch the process with total equanimity and joy. You will watch your spirit disengage from the body. You will watch it crumble into lifelessness so that all of your attention becomes focused in a wholly new dimension, a dimension that is so vast that you will be able to look down upon the earth plane, not unlike the way you might choose to hold a pebble in the palm of your hand. And in one quick glance, you see everything about the pebble, and nothing is hidden. When we began this 40 days together, we said that we would be willing to place upon the altar of the heart everything that we fear, every place where fear is made a home in our consciousness. And I believe that, at least for myself, this idea of death is one of those areas of fear or fearfulness that has accompanied, I believe, humanity in our experience. I remember being a little girl and wanting no discussion whatsoever about it. It was like I wanted to hold it at bay. And I remember at one point my parents telling me, that someday they would die, and, I don't know, they wanted to have a conversation about that. And I refused and cried and no. And I'm not going to have a conversation about that. And I remember, at one point being at some funeral and refusing to go look at a body because I knew that there was nothing there, no spirit there. The life of the person who I knew wasn't really there. And that it wasn't a representation of how I wanted to remember this person. And so I had placed a block even on, going to funerals and things like that. And so this whole concept of death was something that was challenging for me as a young person. And as I matured and walked through pathways of higher understanding and walking through becoming a spiritual prayer practitioner and counseling with people, and then becoming a minister. Part of what we do as ministers is that we minister to life's thresholds and graduations and experiences that kind of the cradle to the grave, is what a minister assists people through in this life. And at some point, I had to come to terms with what my own belief system was. And I remember that there was a point in time where I was approaching my own father's transition. And I remember as I approached this, I didn't have a paradigm in my mind or in my consciousness in which he did not exist in this realm. And so there was so much mystery connected with it. And I'm so very grateful that I had the teaching that we have here, where we teach that our life is actually eternal, and that the body is a device, a teaching device. It's something that we occupy, and as a teaching device, it's a temporary little thing that we occupy for a period of time, but that when we release it, that our life goes on. And in this material, it talks about the things that are birthed in time, end in time. And in A Course in Miracles, it also talks about the body simply being a vehicle. And what I realize as I have gone through this experience is that when I surrender the body, when I place the body, and I've started to call it the body to rather than my body, and it says here that we realize that we don't own it. And that when I can release my identification that I am a body, that I place the body upon the altar, and that when I do so, I'm surrendering it to the highest use of spirit, of my spirit, of God, as I traverse through this experience, giving forth my gifts. And I also place upon the altar my personality. I can be really fond of my personality. And when the personality and the body are used by the ego, it takes on a different connotation. It takes on a connotation of separation and of fear and fearfulness and protection. But when I place it upon the altar and the body becomes in use to spirit, and the personality comes to be in use by spirit, as well as the body-mind, which we might call the intellect, all of these things then can become tools and teaching devices for myself and the vehicle through which I have this personal experience of life. And when it comes time that this experience is coming to an end, that I begin to withdraw my attention and my focus of myopically being in this experience, and my attention and focus will go elsewhere. And that what my goal is to be conscious of that, and to have an observation of this transition, if you will. Now, I've had this opportunity to be present in these transitions for people in my role as minister, in my role as daughter, and I have come to find them to be the most of sacred moments. And that I'm not responsible for how somebody chooses to have this experience, but I am responsible for how I view it and how I companion individuals through this experience. And I love this idea that this concept that we could think of as death is it is said, in my Father's house there are many mansions. There are many dimensions, and that it truly is like going from my living room out to the lanai. It's like as my focus diminishes from this experience here and turns its attention to another dimension, to another many mansion in my Father's house, that as I focus there, the living room ceases to be a focus of my attention and ceases to be a focus of my reality, and the lanai is what calls me forth, and I just walk through into that next space. And that's how I have come to view this thing that we call death, this thing that we may refer to as transition. I had the opportunity to go to a place that was very special to myself and to my family recently, 2 days ago. And as I'm beginning to release the space I'm currently living in, I think, what can I release? What objects can I release? And I had a little remnant of my father's ashes. And I had a little bit of my mother's ashes. And I had a little bit of my beloved cat Hobbs's ashes. All three loves of my life. And that I had been hanging on to this remembrance of them. And that I knew it was time to set that free. And so I went to a place that was special to my family, MacArthur Beach. And there is a large, long walkway that goes over the intercoastal that then goes and leads to the beach. And it's on the Atlantic, and it's near West Palm Beach area, just to give you some orientation, but it's just beautiful. And my father and I would walk this path together, and it was what I would call forgiveness walks. And every year I would go and visit my parents there, and he and I would take these walks, and we would talk about life and our lives and the lessons that we've learned together. And it was a very special pathway. And I thought, what better place to release the remainder of these ashes? And in the intercoastal, the water was moving in the direction of the ocean. And I thought, oh, that's perfect. And so I scattered some of them there. And then as I went to the beach, I scattered the remainder into the waves of the ocean. And I was remembering our conversations here and how very perfect it was, that I was imagining and watching the waves as I had already released the ashes, and I knew that they returned to the ocean. And we've talked about the ocean being the source of the being. And that, yes, the wave is the extension and expression, but when the wave is complete and it is done, it returns to the ocean. It doesn't really die, it just stops that expression, and it returns to life, to source itself. And that in the depth of the ocean and in that reunification with the all that is, something else is happening. And I knew that the lives of my parents and of Hobbs, something else had already happened, and they're extending and expressing in some way, and some new reconfiguration that I don't know. It's a mystery, but that I take great comfort in knowing that, and how grateful I was to have this opportunity to watch all of this return to Source. And so, this is one of those fears that we place upon the altar, maybe a fear of death, the death of ourselves, the death of a loved one. And that we can place it upon the altar and allow correction of our perception to come, to expand in a way in which we realize that there really is no death, that there really is only life, there really is only from glory to glory to glory, life without end, In my Father, Mother, God's house, there are many mansions, many dimensions, this being one of many. And that we give our full attention and appreciation to being here and to walking the way of the heart here as Christ in this lived experience, knowing that as we do so fully and completely, when that time comes to walk from the living room to the lanai, when our attention shifts, that we do so with perfect peace, equanimity, and joy. And that as others go through this, that we can hold that peace for them as they traverse that journey. And so with this, I say thank you, Mother, Father, God, Infinite Spirit, for the correction that has come and dawned upon my own consciousness, that it may dawn upon the consciousness who are within the vibratory field of this conversation, and that we may remember that as we live, yes, not I, but the Christ lives as us, and that that life is eternal and endless. May we go forth in peace this day, in joy and equanimity of all things that come along our way, and may we see them in a new light and in a new way as Christ. Have a beautiful day. God bless you. I love you. Namaste.